Good afternoon. Today I'm going to make a tumbler for a friend of my daughter's. Their family does a lot of racing, and she's collected a lot of these armbands over the years, or probably just recently, these last couple of years. So I'm going to make those into, put those on a tumbler. One of the things that she wants is, she brought me this bag of clay from the racetrack. I don't know which racetrack, but she brought me this bag, and she wants to incorporate that into the cup. So what I have done already, I've taken the cup and I've sanded it and primed it with this neutral color here. And I've gone through and cleaned up all the little tags, cleaned up the edges, and cut off the stuff that wasn't attractive. So I have there's all different colors here. But first I'm going to tackle the clay. I'm going to do that part first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this epoxy here, Upstart Epoxy. I use a couple kinds. I use this kind and I use K-resin, but I'm going to use this kind. There's part A and part B. So I'm going to mix that up real quick, and I'm going to add see how this goes. This is going to be an experiment. So I'm going to mix up the epoxy and I'll come right back. Okay, I'm back. So I went ahead and put the epoxy all over. I used about 20 cc's of epoxy, which is a lot for the first coat, but I think this clay is going to take right much of it. You can probably see there is a lot of bubbles in my epoxy right now because I mixed it pretty quick. So let me pop some of those real quick. You don't want the bubbles to be in there because I mean, the clay is gonna already make it be a little rough, so I want it to be as smooth as possible to start with, and then the clay, we'll add that to it, and there'll definitely be a lot of sanding in between layers. So all right, so I have you kind of zoomed in pretty good. I think I'm gonna let some of the chunkies stay in there. I'm gonna start mostly at the bottom. See how it works. I don't know if I'm gonna add a lot. We'll see how it goes, because I am not familiar with this material that much. I'm going to get some of the really small parts at the bottom. I can. But I have laid down some wax paper just to hold my table a little bit. I'm hoping mostly just the small pieces will stick now that I'm doing it. There's a lot in the bottom that's kind of already smoothed out, so I'm trying to get that. This could be an ultimate failure, or it could be a masterpiece. My dog Diesel is sitting here with me. I don't know if you can see him in the camera or not, but he's very intrigued with what I'm doing. He's like, why are you putting dirt on that cup, Mom? Very weird. I definitely want to get some all over. Diesel. Doing weird stuff, huh? Doing weird stuff. It's actually coming out pretty good. I think most of the chunky parts are falling off and leaving behind the bigger, leaving the small parts on there. It's really good. See if I can put this back in the bag and push it a little more. Should let Diesel run around the house with it and run outside with it. He likes to do that. He likes to grab things and run with it and sling it. That's what he could do. He could run and sling everything around outside for me, huh, buddy? Yeah. You guys want to see Diesel? This is Diesel. Say hi. Hi, everyone. Just had to show you Mr. Diesel. Okay. It almost looks like okay, so I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. So any of the places that are just kind of spotty, I'm going to that's where I'm gonna put the armband. So I'm gonna let this turn for overnight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna get the epoxy on it, and I'll come back and show you what's next. Thanks. Okay, I'm back. I have let the epoxy dry on this for actually a couple days because I got busy. So I'm going to go ahead and put the epoxy on top of it, and then I'm going to have to sand it. But I wanted to just show you a little something. This is the epoxy. It's any kind you get is going to be 2 parts, and I haven't mixed it yet, so you can see the difference. This bottom part is the hardener, and the top part here is the resin. And the resin is a lot thicker than the hardener, so you can see the difference. And because it's heavier, it's kind of sinking to the bottom now, but I just want to show you that. But I'm going to mix it up, and you need to mix it so you can see it all getting mixed together. It's kind of getting a little bit cloudy now, but you need to mix it really good. They usually say about 3 minutes, and you don't want to mix it fast. You want to kind of mix it slow, probably a little bit slower than I'm mixing, because the faster you mix it, the more bubbles you'll get. So I'm gonna mix this for a few minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll put it on the tumbler. Okay. Okay, so I'm back, and I've mixed up my epoxy. This is how it should look. You shouldn't see any, you shouldn't see a line anymore where one is, more dominant than the other. See, I do have some bubbles, so I'm just gonna sit it for just a minute, because those bubbles will come up to the top, and they'll pop themselves. And then after we get it on the cup, like I showed you last time, I can use my little torch to pop the bubbles, because if you leave the bubbles on the cup and it dries like that, you're gonna see them. So you don't want your bubbles to stay on your cup for sure. See that big bubble there? Let me just show you. I'll just hit it one time with my torch. See? Gone. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get you in there good. Let's see. I don't want to. Sorry, I just have this manual holder for my phone. So let me show you. I like it to turn the other way. So to get it to turn, you just turn it off and on a few times and it will change directions. So it's nice and hard. There might be a few things that fall off. But what I like to do for my top coat, for my, I try not to touch it with my hand, hardly any. So what I do, let me try to bring you into a better view so you can see exactly what I do. I'm gonna stop it for a second so I don't make you sick. Okay, now I have you with a better view. I like to have my turner going clockwise. I don't know, it's just what I prefer. So what I do is I put my hand here, but I don't touch it. I put a generous amount right there, and I just let my hand kind of grab onto the epoxy, not the cup. A little bit is still coming off, but it helps not touching it so much. So I'm grabbing, there's a lot of excess epoxy, so I'm just kind of grabbing that and pulling that down a little bit, and then I'm going to do the same thing as I go down the cup a little more. This layer does take a lot of epoxy, so you have to be prepared to use a little more than you normally would. They call this a flood coat because you're pretty much flooding the cup with epoxy. So that's all I'm doing. I'm kind of just putting some on. It might take a couple layers of epoxy for this type of cup, just because it's, you know, it's not glitter, it's actual clay from the racetrack. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. So I think I have plenty of epoxy on here. I'm just gonna bring it down more. You can see the areas that have extra. And you might not be able to see when I get the epoxy on here and it dries. You might not be able to see the, you know, the texture of this clay so much. But the main idea is to have the color of the racetrack. Because I am gonna put, you know, the armbands on here. I think it's gonna turn out great. I've done a couple of cups using, it's called man glitter. To me it's more like crayons chopped up really fine, and then I've used the sawdust on some, and it takes a little bit extra sanding on them just to get it all smooth, but you can see some areas that I don't have. See here in that big area there, kind of got too much of the clay stuff came off, but it'll all work out. That's why it is kind of important to pick you're right, base color. I used this, let me see what it's called here. Oops, sorry about that. I just use this camo color. I use that as the base coat, and I'm glad I did, because it's going good with this clay color. I'm gonna try to pull a little bit more. I got a little bit. Sorry for that noise. It's just Diesel. I got him a little water bowl in here because he likes to come in and drink some water and go back out and do whatever he does. So I'm kind of just, I don't have as much as I would like down here at the bottom, but I don't want to mix another batch of epoxy because you run the risk of it not being the same, exactly the same formula. I mean, you mix it half and half, but still. So I don't want to add another batch that wasn't part of the original. So if I have to, I'll just come back and do a second coat right here. I do have some on all of it. I don't really have much on the bottom. I don't really care to have any of the dirt on the bottom, but some is on there anyway. So that's it. I'll let this dry good. I'll probably leave it on there for at least 24 hours. Let it spin for 24 hours. You don't have to let it spin, but for like 4 to 6 hours actually spinning, because at that point, at 4 to 6 hours, it's hardened enough that the epoxy's not going to move. But I just leave it on there spinning. I mean, it's not going to hurt it to keep spinning that whole time. And the spinning is just to make sure everything is level. The epoxy is self-leveling. However, if I was to just leave it like this without letting it spin, there would be a huge line on the bottom where the epoxy has dripped to the bottom. And I have a cup like that it kind of fell off the turner when I was using an old turner. It fell off the turner, and it looks like the cup has a spine, which is kind of cool looking, but you don't want that for. So I'll come back in 24 hours or so and show you how it looks, and then we'll have to go ahead and sand it. We'll have to sand it down a little bit, and then we can put the armbands on it, and then we'll have to put another coat of epoxy over top of the armbands. So it'll look really cool. And let me show you. Let me take my gloves off because I got epoxy all over them. You definitely want to use gloves because some people are very allergic to the epoxy. When I first started, I was using all different brands, trying to find out what I really liked, and I definitely was getting some bad reaction to some of them, so I don't use those anymore. I only use the two brands that I use. I'll show you. I use this brand. It's called Upstart Epoxy, and the other brand that I use is KS Resin. Both of them are my go-to brands. The KS Resin is a little bit thicker, so I do use that a lot for the top coats to make sure I get a good coverage. and the Upstart Epoxy is a new brand, but I really like it. Both of them have, they don't have the smell of some of the other epoxies. So let me show you this other cup. This is the cup I'm doing for her boyfriend. I haven't put epoxy on it yet. This is a water slide. I showed you in a previous video how to do the water slide. It was with the Air Force water slide, but it's the same concept. I bought this water slide on Etsy, and I paid for the use of it, and I paid for the license so I can use it. This one, the bottom just has the hog label on it, but I don't usually like to leave that like that. I like to put something on the bottom, or I'll paint it. This one I'm gonna I put foil adhesive on the bottom, and I'm just gonna put this foil on it. This is probably the closest match I have to these colors, so I'm gonna put this foil on it. I put it on there. It's been about an hour, so I can go ahead and I'll go ahead and show you that while this other one is. So I'm gonna press it on. I've shown you how to do foils before on a couple of things. I've put it on a Tumbler before, and I did it on the barn quilts. If you want to go back and look at any of those videos, but it's the same concept. You put it on, you rub it in. Let me get a little brush. I'm going to use this, sorry, I'm out of frame a little bit. I'm going to use this soft cloth. It's just like a party napkin I use. Get that on there really good. I put a little bit around the bottom edge too, because the water slide didn't quite go all the way. This particular one is called Lentil from Artistic Painting Studio, APS. And then I'm going to use this little brush. It's kind of I need to get a little bit stiffer brush, but anyway, this one will do for now. You just use your brush to try to get as much of the foil onto what you're putting it on. And then you kind of lift the foil a little bit. It's actually better than I thought. It didn't stick everywhere, but it is so beautiful because, you know, the can itself looks like it's been used a lot, and oil and everything. So the bottom kind of goes with that, and it covers up what I didn't want. I didn't want to see that logo. So I love that. And so now this one is also ready for epoxy. I'm gonna put epoxy on this. This one will I'll probably put 2 coats on it, just to be careful, you know. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put it on my turner here. I have a couple different turners. This one I kind of like the best. It's Mass Bros. You can get it on Amazon. This one switch went out after the warranty. So my husband just added a new switch. It's got 4 switches, 4 4 turners, and then it has 2 drying. Let me show you. It's got 2 drying where you can dry them at the top, and it has 4 turners. So I just don't have just 1 turner. And then I have a couple other turners. 2 my husband made for me, and then 1 I purchased, but kind of go to these. The most. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put epoxy on that one, and so both of those will be ready for me to show you the next step probably tomorrow. Okay, all right, thank you. Hello, I'm back, and I'm gonna show you how things are looking. Been a couple days. I've just been letting these turn. Already shown you this one. This one is amazing. Okay, so this one is the one I put the racetrack clay on, and you can see it's very textured. And there's even a little bit on the bottom, which I don't really want, but you can see it's very textured, and there's some places that's missing some of the mud debris or track debris. So what I have to do now is I have to get my sander out. I use a 220 grit sandpaper, and I just use a little sander. Let me just get the sander, and I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is the sander that I use. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this is the sander I use. It's just a little Walmart Black & Decker, and I use a 220 grit sandpaper, and it'll tell you on the back is 220. I can use this one a little bit more. I can use a little bit over here. Try to get the most out of the sandpaper. The 220 grit is a fine sandpaper. You want a higher grit, 220 and up, like 220 to 4. I don't know what numbers they go to, but the higher number, the better, the finer the. So I'm gonna just go over this whole thing, and I'm going to sand it down. Because if I try to put the armbands on it like it is now, it's not gonna be very appealing. So I'm gonna do that. And down here at the bottom, I was telling you that I kind of ran out of the epoxy a little bit, but you can see that there's enough on there for me to use. So I'm fine with that. I don't need to apply another coat right yet. So I'm gonna sand this down, and then I'll show you how I'm going to apply the armbands to it. This is just the thing that holds the cup onto the turner. And let me show you this other one. This is the one that I'm making for her boyfriend as a surprise. So hopefully he's not on here. I'm sure he's not. So this has 1 coat of epoxy on it. I am going to apply a second coat just because it needs a second coat for just durability, but I don't see any problems with it. The only thing I take that back. The only thing I see is this one little edge right here. You can see that? It's like a little, it looks like a chip, but it's, I'm not sure. Maybe the water slide didn't adhere right real good or something, and it didn't work. But that's okay, because I have a billion paint markers that I can touch that up before I put on the second coat. But you want to do is if you're doing these yourself, you want to kind of turn it, and you want to look. Some some colors you can see right away if there's any issues. There might be a little issue there, but what you want to do is you want to lightly sand. I wouldn't use this sander. I would just use one of the finger sanders and lightly sand over this, because there's not much issues at all. There might be a little bit, but nothing major. But I definitely wouldn't send this out with just one coat. I would never send out a cup with one coat, because you need a couple coats. So I'm gonna definitely do that again. I'm really pleased with how the bottom came out. It looks like it's it matches the cup, because it looks a little bit used, rustic, like the cup looks like, but it's brand new, of course. And this one has a smaller thing to hold it to the turner. Okay, so I'll come back after I sand this good and show you what it looks like before I start putting on the armbands, just so you can see for yourself if you want to do these, so you'll know what it should look like and what it should not look like. Right now it should not look like this, unless that was all you're going to do, is just give somebody this and they want to feel that texture. But other than that, you would not give somebody it looking like this. All right, I'll come back. Thanks. Okay, I found a sponge, paintbrush. These are the best things to use for Mod Podge. So I just put a little bit in the top. I didn't get any out. It's been sitting for a little bit. Let me just back up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Whoa! Oh boy. There's your blooper for the day. That was a mess. After I shook it up, it went everywhere. That's okay. We have lots of cleaning supplies in here. So, good thing I had on my gloves. I'll just leave that little blooper in there for you just to enjoy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find that first place. This right here is the first place I want to cover up. Bring it in a little bit. See this place right here where it didn't get it didn't really get much. Okay, I found this really cool one that's a Rock Auto badge armband. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply, instead of applying it to the cup, I'm going to apply it to the back of the armband to make sure I get lots of coverage. You want to put extra. You don't want to skimp on this part. So I'm putting lots of extra. Alright, so this stuff dries clear, so no worries about you seeing the white right now. And we'll see, I might have to sand it more for this to work. We'll see. So I put it on the bottom. I'll just use this pile of stuff I spilled here. There we go, no waste. Alright, I'll put a little bit on the cup too, because it doesn't want to work well for some reason. Okay, alright people, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to put it on the cup and on the bottom, just because it's not smooth as most cups would be. So like I said, this dries clear, so you won't see all that white. It'll be clear, and it doesn't take long to dry at all. It doesn't take long like the epoxy. So I'm just gonna put down extra. Okay, so hopefully I've been in the camera. Okay. And see right here, you can see it's kind of coming up a little bit. That's just because of those grooves. Just imagine if I wouldn't have sanded it any. I'm gonna do a couple and I'm gonna let it dry and see how it does. And I might need to just peel them off and sand it some more. Okay, so here's another part. I'm gonna just do 2 and see how it goes. So I'm gonna do one on the opposite side, so I'm not interfering with that drying. I'm gonna attempt anyway. I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Okay. So I'm gonna put something around this bottom here that I'm not the craziest about. I'm gonna just put a bunch here. And just put in a bunch. This stuff isn't that expensive. It's $5 to $7 for this big bottle, and it goes a long ways. So you don't have to worry about your pennies. Okay, I'm gonna find another one that speaks to me. I'm gonna use this orange one, Wake County Speedway on it. All right, let me sit this down. I'm gonna apply something on the back of this too, like I did the first one. And I gotta put it upside down because that's how the cup goes. And it doesn't have to be straight because I'm gonna have these at all different angles, but you do wanna have them where the words, you can read. You don't want to have to turn it upside down to read it. Okay, so I'm pretty much saturating it in this. And we'll see. If it doesn't work, not a problem. We'll just come back and I'll sand it some more. So I'm gonna just leave it with those two. And it's okay if I get drips, it'll dry clear like I said. So we'll leave it with those two for now. And then I'll come back and show you how that worked out. I'm going to try to get up some of this, and save some of it. I don't want to totally be wasting stuff. Alright. And I'll come back in a little bit and I'll show you what happened. Hopefully it worked out. See how easy that is to clean up. Didn't waste that much really. And then what you want to do, if you have any kind of plastic wrap laying around, I might have some. You can wrap your brush up so you don't have to keep using more brushes. All right. Let me find a finger that I can turn my camera off with. Be back. Okay, so this is how I ended up making the wristbands, vertical and close to each other, so I could get almost all of them that she had on here. There's just a couple left, but They're ones that don't even have writing on it. So I put this one down here at the bottom, the short track world, short track one. That one's a kind of unique one. Then I just put this little piece on the bottom. So I have epoxy on it. It's on its second coat of epoxy. I will need to, definitely will need to sand it and put a third coat of epoxy on it, just because some of the places from the band are a little bit raised, you can see. So I want those to be all nice and smooth. Let me just grab my torch and get out a few more of the air bubbles. And use this kind of torch to get it pops the air bubbles. Really good. And then this one is the one that she's getting for her boyfriend. And I just put the last coat of epoxy on it. Probably could have been fine with the one before, but I wanted to put one more coat of epoxy on it. You can see how nice and smooth it is. This is one way you can too. You can get down like this to see if there's any air bubbles in it, because you can see them really good if you're down at an angle like this. I don't see any air bubbles. And then the bottom, remember I did the bottom with the foil, that it looks that it didn't all come through perfect, which is what I really wanted. So so it all kind of matches. So those two, that's how you make a racetrack armband tumbler. And right here in this brown area, I think I'm gonna put some words in there. Gotta just find the right words to put on there. And when I do that, I will show you the end result with the last coat of epoxy. So there you go. Okay, here is the final cup. And I put down here in the white, I just put my heart is on that track, because it's her dad races. So I think it came out really good. It's nice and smooth. And the bottom, I just put a little piece on there too. So thanks for watching how this turned out. I just left a little bit of the mud showing through.